All right, now we welcome in our guest for today. He is the founder of CrossFit New England, now CompTrain New England, founder of CompTrain training programs as well. None other than the Chasing Excellence man himself, Ben Bergeron. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Thanks, guys.
And and so, wanted to have you on. Obviously, the decision to de-affiliate your gym kind of came down the news wire, for at least for us last
Mhm.
week. But I know this is a decision that didn't come lightly, and probably had a lot more time and more legs on it in getting to that final decision. So I want to start with what ultimately was the sequence of events that led you to finally make the decision to de-affiliate.
Yeah, so I think that anybody that's, like, paying attention to the sport of CrossFit, knows kind of the tragedy that took place last August with Lazar. You know, I was there, obviously, my athletes competing, and, it was, heart-wrenching and tragic. Um, and it was really in the weeks and, following that I was like, um, "Is this the thing?" It's where the question started percolating, right?
Mhm.
I didn't make any r decisions at the time because I didn't wanna make them emotionally. I didn't wanna be swayed by recency bias, so I kinda sat with it for a long time. I kinda told myself I'm gonna give myself until at least late fall, if not the end of the year, to make the decision. See if things change between the immediacy of it, and if, things turn a corner and we feel better about the actions of the people involved in the wake of that later on. And, um things didn't change. I didn't see the things that I was hoping to see from a leadership perspective, from a company's perspective, from a way that we want to line our business up with. And we really do try to, you know, um, cultivate a culture very intentionally at our gym. There's a reason I only open up one gym, is because I feel like I can only control the culture of one place, and I wanna do everything I can to, think of it as a really high performing, tight-knit family, team, or community,
Mhm.
and that's very much based on, a certain set of values, and those values, I don't feel like were reciprocated through the actions, decisions, behaviors in the aftermath of the tragedy at the games, and kind of made the final decision in the middle of December. Um, but then our gym manager, Tori Dyson, who I know you guys know, she's
Mhm.
awesome. She's moving out to Coeur d'Alene to hang out with Cole and Katrin, which is awesome. I was out visiting Katrin last week. And so when she gave me the news in late December, I was like, all right, this is a lot of moving pieces. We're not going to tell our community that Tori, who everyone loves so much, is going to explore some other things. So let's wait till that settles. And we told our affiliate when everyone got back from the holidays, the first week of January. So it's a slow decision. Um, it was a calculated decision. And it's a decision that, man, I wish I didn't have to make because I still love this. I love this thing. I mean, I love what the methodology. I love the community. I love what it's built here. I love what it's built worldwide. Um, but I've kind of told myself um, values first, and made the hard decision that if that's not aligned, no matter how much as I was explaining this, like someone asked me, a week afterwards, they're like, "So how do you feel?" And you know, the way I kind of explained it was, it's kind of like you're dating a girl for a long time, and it's not right. And that's kind of the decision I came to, and it's like, but I sat with it for a month before telling everyone. Um, and you think that once you like break up with that girl, there's gonna be a big sense of relief. And man, there wasn't the sense of relief at
Mm.
all. There was a sense of sadness. Like
Mm,
this thing that I love so much, this era, this part of my identity is kind of gone. At least shifted, right?
Mhm.
mhm.
Um, so it's a really hard decision. And I just kind of wish that it didn't come to this, but it's one of those things that I feel like I didn't have a choice in the decision a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there with the sentiment of there wasn't a sense of relief after, and there's
Mhm.
still this overwhelming sense of sadness, which I think a lot of people in the community are feeling right now. When you think about, the 4 months leading up to finally making the decision, you're somebody who is so integrated in this community. Were there conversations that you were able to have with folks from, whether it was HQ or people in leadership positions or even other like training camps that kind of helped you gather enough information to make that decision?
Yep. Yeah, I talked to people at HQ. I talked to other training camps. I talked to some of the elite athletes. Talked to other affiliate owners. Um, and it was kind of the accumulation of all those different data points that helps support my gut decision because that's what it
Mm,
ultimately comes down to. It's like, how do I feel about this thing? You can talk to your girlfriend's parents, you can talk to her friends, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to other people that have dated her, but really it comes down to your relationship
mhm.
with the individual or the company. And so I wouldn't say any one of those was like the nail in the coffin or the ones that swayed me. But the it all kind of supported this tough decision.
Mm.
What was the sense that you got in those discussions from whether it was leadership or HQ? Because I think, and as well as anyone, historically, I would say that CrossFit HQ hasn't had the reputation of being the most receptive to criticism or dissension. Anytime someone wants to break from their ranks. And obviously, having a nearly 20-year affiliate and someone who's been involved with CrossFit, even HQ in advisory roles for so long, considering that has to be a bit of a shock. And I'm curious what their response was.
I think it's we've heard, right, which is kind of like you get the sense that they are listening just to check a box that they're listening,
Mm,
and there's not really a and it's not that I didn't ask them to listen. I was asking more questions than saying anything. So I understand that a lot of the athletes are pissed off because they've been talking about doing this a different way, safety protocols, unionizing, all that stuff. That wasn't necessarily um, a huge part of this. It was more about how are the decision makers, how are the leaders um, acting in this time of need when the community needs the leadership the most. Um, is this the way that I want to line up our business going forward? And
mm.
that was more of there's a lot of I don't want to knock this down on the way. It's not that type of thing at all. So I just don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
like
yeah.
this is my decision and not everyone was
Mhm.
in all of the rooms that I was in along the way. And um it's not the type of thing where I'm, um mad about it. It's not that at all. It's not that I'm um regretful that I was a part of it. It was awesome. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Like, and I wish that actually could be continuing it, but it's not the right move for me and my business going forward is really the thing.
Mm.
Mhm.
And kind of quick follow up to that, you mentioned like, looking for leadership and people to step up. You get it as specific or not specific as you want, but what were you looking for in terms of leadership? Like what aspects were you looking for and hoping for that would come down the pipe? Because I imagine there are quite a few um, gym owners, people of the community, affiliated, not affiliated, that are maybe feeling a similar sentiment, but unable to really kind of grasp what it is they're looking for.
Leadership is a challenging thing and it's hard. Like leadership's hard. and it requires hard decisions and doing things that might be unpopular at the time. It's not a matter of getting everyone to understand, but it is a matter of building trust. And
Mm.
trust takes a level of authenticity, transparency, vulnerability, um, compassion. Um, None of those things were represented in the days, weeks, or months of Lazar's passing.
Mm.
Um, we were told that they'd be totally transparent. That wasn't the case. That there would be total ownership and responsibility taken. That didn't seem to be the case. So I know that they have their own challenges, their own struggles. I'm not here to say who's at fault or how they should have done it. I'm here to say that this isn't the way I would have gone about it.
Mm.
And if this is the type of thing where we are a part of this thing together and they're doing things a different way than I would go about them, we shouldn't be hitching our wagon to that train because we're not seeing eye to eye in the way that we would handle these moments of challenge, these moments of crisis, which are the critical times. I like that saying that, I don't think I made this up, but how you act in peacetime, when things are going great, when people are applauding you, it's sunny out, you're doing things that you like, you're with your friends, that's your personality. When, said another way, is like 2012 to 2016 CrossFit, that's our personality, right? Like that was
Mhm.
awesome. Everyone like knows the heyday of what that was. Your character is how you act in times of crisis. It's how you act when you're challenged. It's when things go against you. When you have to kind of buckle down and show your true colors. We have 3 core values. One of our core values is strong character. It's like if I didn't see strong character
Mm.
coming from the organization, if our values aren't aligned, you're not gonna every single small little thing along the way is gonna be challenging, more challenging than it should be. And what we want to do is set up an environment that is um, a group of people that surround each other with people that support them, want to see them win, challenge them, call them on their crap. No drama, no gossip, no negativity, just good vibes and growth. Well, we haven't been able to do that and the outside of these walls in this because there's been lots of trauma. There's been lots of toxicity. There's been lots of negativity. We have that choice of whether to involve ourselves in that or not. So the choice I've made is to rip that band-aid off. This is a hard part. I'm going to bleed a little bit. Like doing these types of conversations, they're hard. Doing the conversation with my members, they're hard. But on the other side of this, we will fall back into surrounding ourselves with people that want to see us win, support each other, love each other, build each other up. No drama, no negativity, no toxicity.
Mm.
That's what we want is a bunch of people of really, really high character.
One of the biggest things, I mean, even before what happened at the CrossFit Games, is athletes were looking for more transparency around safety protocols. I mean, even when you think about the water when it came to the blue green algae, like looking for the transparency around testing with that. Do you think though, to play devil's advocate, that CrossFit creating the CAC, the CrossFit Athlete Council, was a step in the right direction, or that it wasn't enough? Or what are your thoughts surrounding that when they're in a way showing that they might be trying to change?
Yeah, I don't have enough insight to probably have a really informed opinion on
Mhm.
that.
Mm.
I don't know much about actually never heard those words, CrossFit Athletic Council. Like I don't even know what that is. So um, I was really, really, really involved in the sport for 15
Mhm.
years. Um, but I think that probably was coming to life as I was kind of getting out essentially.
Mm.
Um, I was there to support Cole last year, but I wasn't even at the venue. I was doing community events outside. I wasn't a CrossFit coach coaching at the games this past year, and the year before was that whole year I wasn't involved in either. I'm guessing that probably came to life in that kind of time as I was transitioning out.
Mm. Yeah, and
If I was to take my guess at it, step in the right. I think what you said is spot on, Lauren. Step in the right direction, probably not enough.
Mm.
Are they showing that they're trying? Yes.
yeah, and again, I guess it comes down to like how how much those efforts actually take root, and do they, bear fruit in some ways that have meaningful change long term, at least. Because I want to say this delicately, but it's very rare now. Obviously, like the death of Lazar is almost a an event horizon, like a no going back type point, right? But I don't think a lot of this. I don't think the seeds of maybe considering breaking rank with CrossFit was planted then. I think for a lot of people, there may have been instances along it. Everyone carries a different history.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious if in your discussions with people, did you get a sense that that was true for a lot of other people, or was it this event in particular?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it was a breaking point. I think that Pat Vellner and Brent have been very vocal about this. They've certainly had a mission for that for a long time, and this was your event horizon um, categorizing as that. I think is super accurate, right? It
Mm,
was the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't the hammer to the head.
yeah.
It was a really, really big, really massive one, but it wasn't the initial, and it wasn't the
Mm,
first. This is um, on for most athletes. I think that this is. I shouldn't say most athletes. For a lot of athletes that have been there for a lot of years, because I think if you're the first year rookie coming in, you probably haven't seen the the trajectory. You haven't seen the history. You haven't seen the legacy. Um, that's the way that communications happen back and forth.
mhm.
And I think that there was a lot of years that they've tried to do things differently, but obviously enough athletes saw this as the event horizon where like, hey, I'm gonna step away for a little bit and just kind of let this breathe.
Mm.
Were there any other times throughout the history of you being involved in the sport that you thought that Comp Train might de-affiliate
So just for
or CrossFit
clarity,
New
it's
England?
yeah, that's actually worth
Sorry.
clarifying though.
Yeah.
The I was at a I own two businesses. One it was what was called CrossFit New England. It's a CrossFit affiliate, brick and mortar singular gym. We affiliated in 2007. Just recently announced the de-affiliation. We're still actually technically affiliated. I paid my dues. It was funny just the way it worked out. I paid my year-long dues like 10 days before I announced the affiliation, but but I hadn't announced it yet. So uh,
Mhm.
CompTrain is the other business that I have, which is training the elite athletes for the sport, which then has morphed into more of a digital platform for anybody that's looking to be athletic forever, right? CompTrain was never affiliated with CrossFit. The only way it was affiliated was loosely because we participated in their events. Um, so that's just a clarifying aspect of that. Kind of funny enough, I think that a lot of we CompTrain did try to affiliate
Mm.
a couple times, and we were told no. Um, they said you need to have a brick and mortar gym. So we built a brick and mortar gym, and we reapplied, and they still said no.
Mm.
That wasn't spilt milk or anything like that, though. I wasn't like pissed off about it. It was like, okay, like they don't want these quote camps to be affiliated. I'm sure they have their reasons and motives behind that, and I don't really need to understand it. It's just like we'll continue doing our thing and show up at the games and try to do the best we can. Um, to get to your question though, Lauren, in terms of like things along the way, the only other time that something similar to this really that was like actually popped up to the point of like worth discussing. It is you guys remember this, but was during COVID with Greg kind of again, not acting like the leader that we were hoping that a leader would act like.
Mm,
And at that time, we said if we don't see change, meaning if Greg is still running this thing, but I think Greg is a genius, like a full blown revolutionary genius. I love what he made for us. Like it is incredible. Um, but he's not the type of person I would want as a coworker, and
mm,
is not the type of person I would want leading my company. So we said if Greg is gonna stay doing this, we're gonna go and do something else. Um, so did a lot of other gyms, right? There
yeah.
was that whole kind of movement.
Mhm.
Greg eventually sold, brought in Eric Rosa, and we stayed. We didn't de-affiliate. So that was the only other time that it kind of was like on the radar. And then it
Mhm,
was, hey, let's go back to business as usual. Before last year's games, this was not really on the radar. But last year's, I mean, like you guys know, like my best friend Cole, this could have been him as easily as it could have been anybody else there. And that's why it like is really, if this had been Cole and the response was the response, oh my God, like I can't even, like I'm gonna get really emotional talking about it because God, that's a horrific response. And I don't like it's just like how close to home this thing was, you know. So it's just one of those things like I realized like I'm not gonna I personally, and that's how I think that business these affiliates should run. Like I think every small business, I mean that intentionally small business, not every big business, but every small business, I think that the highest chance of success is if you build the business as a reflection of your personal values, because then it's an extension of you. And I think that's really important for small businesses. What I encourage when I coach other gyms is when you're setting up what your gym stands for and what you believe, have it be what you believe, have it be your values, because then it's so authentic. And when
mm,
you talk about this, it's your heart and soul and passion builds out to it. But if you're um, really into health, fitness, and passion, and you open up an ice cream shop, it's like, okay, like come and try my ice cream. It's like, but if you're into like, it's like it has to be really, and that's what I'm trying to do is create something that's really authentic to me. And this was Event Horizon. Tommy, I love it.
mm.
Was enough of a litmus test for me to go, hey, is this right for us?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I will say I do feel like, especially in maybe the last 4 to 5 years, you have been very open about the various iterations of where you feel like the next move might be for CrossFit New England, for Comp Train, for shifts in focus and where you're going to put your energy. Because I think back to even just a few years ago when we were discussing the potential for the Comp Train Academy and where that seemed like it was going to be.
Right.
But now, kind of where Comp Train has shifted now, and even where now CrossFit New England is going to go as a gym. Is there anything that stands out to you in that perspective of all of the changes that you've personally gone through with your businesses? And maybe is that indicative of anything about the community and where it's headed as well?
Well, yeah, it's really interesting. I was like, when you look at where I am now versus where I was in 2001, um, I was so bullish. I was like, all right, Eric Rosa's in this thing. We got like this thing we're going to grow it. He told us that we're going to be the next UFC. We're going to get 100 million people watching this thing. So I'm like a go guy. Like, I was like, let's be the first one to build an academy. Like, I
Hmm.
was like,
Mm.
let's build an academy. Let's be
Yeah,
way
I
out in
remember
front of
that.
this thing. And the academy model was we'll have elite athletes that are pro athletes, essentially kind of like World Fitness is doing. Give them a pro card. Like
Hmm.
we'll compensate them to be able to live here, like treat them as real professional athletes.
Yeah.
How dope would this have been, right? Like this would have been freaking amazing. Then we'll have a development team that can train here for free, right? Basically, you're on scholarship, right? You
Hmm.
can train with so a really small elite group. Think like 3, 4, 5 super elites, people that are chasing the podium every year. Then let's have a development team of people that are on scholarship, like 6 to 12, dope, amazing. and let's have um, a youth training center for people that essentially, like, if you want to be on the US ski team, right? You go to a ski academy. If you want to
Mhm.
be on USA Gymnastics, you go to like a training facility and you move your whole family to Colorado Springs to the idea was to create one of those. And that would have been where those people pay to be a part of this. And that would have fed the whole thing. Unfortunately, we were also looking to create like corporate sponsorships to help support the whole thing, and um, the the sport didn't do what I I had, maybe the word is hoped, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Envisioned it would, and that, like, same thing with the vision that Rosa had of this growth. So the corporate did not come in. We reached out to a lot. We did it. We did. I mean, like, we went in on the sales route and we're like, hey, we're doing this thing. Do you guys want to be a part of it? And they weren't interested in it. What they were interested in was actually the affiliates. They wanted to um, they were way more interested in our comp train gym model than they were
Mhm.
in the elite model.
Hmm.
Um, and
Why do you
then
think that is?
I don't think this sport is at then as now is as marketable as we hope, as we think or hope it would be, right? It's a really
Mhm.
niche small audience.
Mhm.
It's like if we were thinking about like um uh drone racing, like you're like, okay, like, or frolf, like frisbee golf.
Yeah.
Like it's such a niche, like there's even BMX biking, right? Like BMX, but like there's actually a lot more. Like it's just like whereas in terms of like, hey, we could get you to chat with hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 gyms. They're like, oh, I could see they can connect the dots a little bit easier to a revenue model that way.
Yeah. Disc golfers are gonna be pissed in the comments once they see this. I
Frog! I love
Well,
that, that's way better.
yeah.
I think it originally started with Frolf with like a Seinfeld episode. Like
Yes,
he stands
100%.
close
Oh,
to
yeah.
Frolf, and they called
Yep,
it Frolf then.
yep, for sure. Yeah, I guess the kind of lingering question that I have is this, I guess, as with anything, is this a fully like kind of closed door moment, like you've shut the door on this particular chapter? Or I guess you could go to, like Jason Kleeper, right? They de-affiliated and then later on they came back when they felt like those values aligned. Is
Yeah.
this something that you're going to reevaluate and keep the door open, or do you feel pretty at peace with just the finality of this?
It's a great question, and I think that I don't like absolutes, so I would never say never. Right? There's
Mhm.
always like, if there was, I love this thing. Like I do it every single day, right? And I train with thrusters and pull ups, and um, it's awesome. It like changed my life in so many different ways. If there was a meaningful shift that we saw on a consistent basis, um, then yeah, there's a potential that we could reunite. But this also isn't a, a, a- like a threat. This is not like, if you don't
Yeah,
change, we're not coming back. This
yeah.
is where we're doing. We're moving forward. We're not looking back. This is for now. This is the final real decision. We are no longer a CrossFit affiliate. It's not kind of like we have one foot in, one foot out. Like, we're moving forward in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah.
So, what exactly does that mean for people who are members of the affiliate I'm sorry, not affiliate anymore, but the
Mhm.
gym, as people running classes, people coming in to get fit? How is that model and what you guys do day in and day out going to change?
Yeah. So I mean, our I'm really proud of the member experience, which I think a lot of affiliates are, and a lot of affiliates say that. But I think that we have something really cool, which would all affiliates say. I get it, but um, we have done thing a little bit different than maybe the most affiliates do. We've kind of gone. Our mission is to create a family of humble, hungry, happy people who kick ass into their 90s. So family means it's an acronym for forget about me, I love you. Love is when you do something nice for somebody without looking for anything in return. So we're trying to create a group of people that do nice things for each other that don't look for anything in return.
Mhm.
Humble, hungry, happy. Humble, like you want to grow. It's not about, I have all the answers right now. You're coachable, right? You look for feedback. Hungry, you're not looking for shortcuts. You want to work hard and happy. This is a big one. Like no drama, no toxicity, no negativity. Like this means a lot to us. But the big one there is who kick ass in their 90s. What we found is I'm not gonna say our programming is totally different, but we've just kind of like found things that don't necessarily, like we don't do high skill gymnastic stuff at all. We haven't done handstand push-ups in our gym in about 3 or 4 years. We don't do muscle ups at all in our gym. We haven't done them in 3 years. We don't cycle Olympic lifts. We do things a little bit differently. So what will change for our members? Really nothing. We won't be doing the benchmark workouts. I don't know if those are IP. I don't know if those are trademarks. I don't want to thread the needle there and try to figure out if it's okay. We won't be doing those. Like we won't be doing Fran anymore, right? And that's okay. We can still do thrusters and pull-ups, right? We'll still be doing that. So in terms of that, nothing really changes. We've been on we do a lot more structure, and I think most CrossFit gyms do. We strength train 4 days a week, and it's everything set on a progression. So we are always doing 1 squat, 1 bench, 1 dead, and 1 weighted pull-up every single week. We always do at least 2 VO2 max training days, 1 lactic threshold day, 1 anaerobic capacity. We do a long, slow distance day. Like there's a little bit, like it's not totally just like AMRAP 20, 5 rounds for time, Murph, Eva, Fran. It's we have a little bit of it's still like it's still in the idea of creating well-rounded fitness. So it is still looking for broad work capacity across modal domains. That's the definition of fitness. In terms of CrossFit, constantly varied function movements, high intensity, I think that we're doing things a little bit differently, right? Constantly varied? No, we back squat the same day every week. Like we do weight pull-ups the same day every week. We deadlift the same day every week. There's a lot of structure to it. We do set days for VO2 max, lactic threshold, anaerobic capacity. There's certain days, like there's structure to it. Functional movements. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do thrusters and pull-ups and burpees, but we don't do as I already said. I think we stick to that actually. Maybe we don't do sport specific movements. I think of walking over a ramp on your hands as a sport specific. I think of ring muscle ups, bar you could argue very well. Ring muscle ups, we talk about this all the time in CrossFit. Like we want to train to get better outside the gym. Yet when we do a ring muscle up, we teach people how to do a false grip, how to bring your knuckles together and trace your chest, bring it like you don't do that anywhere in the world. That's a skill specific to a sport. So we try to stay away from those things. We're looking for Greg's words, second wave adaptations, things that will benefit you outside of the actual endeavor you're doing. And then in terms of the high intensity, we like high intensity, but we don't go high intensity all the time. We do set intensities, intentional intensity, where one day is long and slow, and some days are, medium, lactic threshold. Some days are medium hard, VO2, and some days are anaerobic capacity, like balls out, let's go. So in terms of our member, when they walk in, they're still going to experience that. The only thing, again, that will change is, unfortunately, bye-bye, Fran. None of our members are upset about that.
The question is, are you still having him do the Bergeron beep test?
So yeah, we
great
actually just
question,
did that
Tommy.
a couple weeks ago. Yeah, we just did it a couple weeks ago. Luckily, I was out of town during that. That's when I was visiting Catherine, actually.
I was going to say, I'd be more upset about that than Fran.
Yeah.
That is,
Sorry, guys.
That one
So
stings.
I was at Wadapalooza one year. Have you done the Bergeron beep test?
Oh yeah.
What's your
I
score?
haven't.
The best I've ever gotten is 10 rounds, I think.
That's really good, Tommy, especially for a tall athlete. That's really, really impressive.
Actually, I may have lied. I think I got into the 10th round and I got capped during the 10th round.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
If people
really,
don't know what it is, can you explain it?
Yeah, it's 7, thrusters at a lightweight, 75 for guys, 55 for girls, 7 pull-ups, and 7 burpees. If you're able to complete that in 1 minute, you do it again at the start of the second minute, and you keep on going as long as you possibly can. So it's essentially a beep, and you just like it's the old school soccer beep test, except that it's with our movements. And a really if you can do 3 rounds, you're fit. If you can
Mhm.
do 10 rounds like Tommy, you're really fit. If you can get 20, you're like a regional I still call it regionals. You're a semifinal type athlete. I was at Wadapalooza. So like back Katrin would get like 24. Cheryl Nasso.
Oh
Remember Cheryl
my
Nasso?
god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she had the record, her and Tremblay, right?
She and Tremblay had the record at like 25, 26. I think Tremblay might have even been a little bit more than that, 27, which is really impressive for him because he's a bigger, stockier athlete as well.
Mhm.
But I met a girl at Wadapalooza. She came up to me in Whole Foods. And by the way, do you know that Whole Foods down in Miami during Wadapalooza is the highest netting sales at any Whole Foods in the country for any 1 week period?
Wow. That's a
Really?
really
Yeah.
fun stat.
I had a guy
I
named
don't
Drew.
doubt that.
How did you find that?
Because a guy named Drew, who's a comp train athlete, he's been to a couple of our camps, works for Whole Foods,
Ah,
and he
okay.
told me.
Wow.
Yeah, wild, right? That's cool.
That's crazy.
Anyway, she came up to me. She's like, "Hey, Ben Bergeron." I was like, "Yep." She's like, right away, she's like, "I did really well in the Bergeron beep test." Like that was like her lead in. I'm kind of
Love
like,
it.
"Awesome, cool, yeah, that's amazing. How'd you do?" She's like, "I did 36 rounds." I was like, "Oh, okay," like kind of like,
Mhm.
you can't." I was like, "Well, that's really cool. If you send me a video of that, like, I'll post it." So she sent me a video. It was totally legit. I posted it.
What?
Like legit
Who
30.
is she?
I can't remember her name, but she was like a fringe, like she was like a RX Wadapalooza athlete. I
And
wish I could remember her name. Be
Damn.
much
it
better
just,
story.
like it just hit her spot, like, that was just, like, her workout?
If you can just like, yeah, some people just kind of like have that. If you can do it fast enough, right? That you can do you can do the first 2 movements fast, you can so you can this is Paul's thing. He did the first 2 movements so fast that he could do the burpees slow, that you actually get a fair amount of rest period because the burpees, everyone knows like once you're fit, slow burpees don't crush you.
Mhm.
It's fast burpees that crush you. So she was able to kind of do these. She was just really good at those movements. Um, and that's just that is such a that is the equivalent of like uh it's like a 2-hour marathon. It's like
Yeah.
that, right? It's like deadlifting 1,100 pounds. It's like that. It's like
Yeah.
so astronomical. It's so far outside the capacity. Like Tommy's legit super fit and he's got 10. This is like 3
Next
times as
level.
fit as Tommy.
3x plus.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
man.
good perspective. Oh my
It's
god.
one of those things
Well
that like you take someone outside our space, have them do
Mhm.
that, and they can't make it through 3 minutes. And they see that and they're like, "Wait a minute, people do this for 25, 35?" It's just like
that's
and it hurts so bad at 2 minutes. It's not like you just
oh,
run out of time. It's like you're it hurts so much. So it's really
like,
cool.
Lauren, you're gonna have to do it and report back 'cause I wanna see you tackle
Completely.
that on.
Lauren
But
gets
777?
39 rounds and sets a new
yeah,
world
oh,
record.
man.
Ben, you've seen me do your the bike RPE test? What was it?
FTP. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
it's 20-minute. This is really popular in cycling communities. So it's called your functional threshold power. It's 20 minutes for average wattage. And
mine
it's
ain't good if anybody was wondering.
but it's like that in the cycling world is like, what's your Fran time? That is
Yeah.
in the global
Yeah.
gym community, like, what do you bench, bro? They're like,
Mhm.
what's your FTP? Everyone knows their FTP.
Hmm.
So you just take that number. Actually, the real number that really matters is you take your FTP and divide it by your weight in kilograms. Because
Oh,
because Tommy, if you're like if you're a 210-pound athlete, you pushing on pedals is way easier than Cheryl Nasso at 115 pounds, right?
yep.
So if she's putting out 250 and you're putting out 300, she would actually have a much higher um, um, relative power output, which is what that is. That's the number. And cyclists, it's really cool. They actually know, they can predict if they're going to win. I don't even say predict. They sort of know, barring a crash or something catastrophic, if they can win the Tour de France before the Tour de France. So
Oh, wow.
every May, Lance Armstrong would know if he's going to win the Tour de France or not, if he was able to get above a 6.4 on that.
Wow.
So if you get above a 6 point, like, it's just, that's when you think I put those numbers together, it is wild what that output is.
Huh. Fascinating. Man, well, I'm glad we got a little bit of training talk on the back end of this because it's always great to talk about that with you, Ben. But really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate you taking the time to kind of talk through your process, talk through everything that has transpired with the gym, with CompTrain, because as I mentioned before, you've been in this space a long time. You've been inseparable with both the affiliate side and the sport for so long as well. And it's always good to hear that perspective because, like I said, so many people are probably in a similar boat or at various
Mhm.
degrees of that stage in that decision as well. So, thanks as always for coming on. You know, uh, Best of luck with everything that's going on with the gym and with the programs moving forward. And again, we'll hope to hear from you soon, and we'll have you back on
Awesome,
soon.
Simon. Yeah. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Lauren.